Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm Joshua, your teacher for today. This is Smart English Live for academic purposes, and we have been having a great chat. Well, you guys have been having a great chat. I've been kind of checking it out, welcoming everybody in, saying hello. We have several students in the chat right now. We have like close to 40 and growing as people are showing up for class. So I'll give it a few more minutes to make sure everybody's here. But I wanted to see how everybody's doing and just chat a little bit myself. So how's your day going? What's new? As soon as we get everybody checked in here into the smart attendance, we'll get started. We're doing a class today on mnemonics. Mnemonics. It's a fun word to say, hard word to spell. And that is because some of you were asking techniques to help you remember information. It's just a small portion of memory and learning, but I thought we would use it as sort of a focal point today for class and then just talk about it and other things we've learned, and that will lead us to needs for the class, because we have a lot of returning students and we have upcoming classes where we are going to study writing and reading skills and strategy and focusing on an academic setting. But I do want to know what you guys struggle with remembering in the English world. As far as English language learning goes, we all have different needs and different skill sets to improve upon. So my goal is to figure out what we can learn more and how we can learn better for today's class. So I hope that's helpful. All right, so we have so many great people here. Are there any new students in the chat? Anybody's first time in the class? If so, say hi. We have a lot of returning guests. We have Vinci and JB and Mustafa, Steve, Mona and Rosa, of course, Sarbajit and French Leo. Khalid is here. I'm missing some, I'm sure. We have Zafar, we have Jimmy. Wow, everybody is doing a great job of chatting today. We have Amanda. Hi, Amanda. We have Jose. Hello, Jose. And Deary, you're new. Ha, ha, ha. No, you're not. We have Cecily and Tampa and Tulay. Luciana is here. Hi, Luciana. Good to see you. You're back. Good to have you in class. So as you come in, say hello, hang out in the chat, ask questions. Asking questions is so important, right? We need to always ask questions. I hope you always question your teachers, you question your colleagues academically, so that we can grow in our knowledge base, right? All right, I'm going to bring up the screen behind me here so that we can check out some stuff that's going on. I'm going to take attendance really quick for our premium subscribers, and then we will get started. It looks like almost everybody's checked in, so that's good. Here we go. All right, so if you're one of these people who is not checked in, just send me an email and let me know what's going on. Otherwise, we will get started here. I wanted to talk about some of the things we've learned in previous classes. Do you guys remember, if you were in class before? Okay, yeah, we have a couple new students here. We have Abira. Abira, is that how I say your name? Abira? It's a cool name. I like it. Welcome to class. Glad to have you here. Please let me know if you feel comfortable in the class, if I am speaking too quickly, or If you want me to repeat any information, and this goes for everybody in class, I'm always happy to repeat myself if you need that. If you want to hear a sentence again, if you want that information that I just said again, that's fine. And of course, this is a video. You can watch it again later. And you can always email me. So for any new students, if you need my email, it's joshua.live@smrtenglish. That's smartenglish.com. Let me put it up on the screen here too. I have not yet created a notes document. We'll call this notes. And today is, what is today? Today is the 20th. Wow, 20th of July. And that email address for you is, let me make that a lot bigger. joshua.live@smrtenglish.com. So if you need anything, you can always send me an email also. Hopefully I put that in there. Okay. Lots of good questions too. Some of the questions are, how can I improve scanning and skimming techniques? We just talked about that a little bit in our reading class. And actually, I'm working with that right now, looking at developing some smart English for STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So it's a lot of fun. And once that is finished, I might use some of it for this class. So we'll see. Could be cool. We will go over that. It's a little off topic today. If we have time in the end, Mustafa, we'll come back to it. We have students, their goals are to get an IELTS score of at least 6.5. That's a good goal. Don't be sad, hiding love. You can do it. I believe in you. There are courses for intermediate English. Yes, that's true. Let me show you. I'll bring up the Smrt Live course options here. If you go to smartenglish.com/live/live, easy to remember, we have our different courses. There's intermediate English with Sean. Sean is awesome, great teacher, very knowledgeable. Yeah, he's a master teacher. He's wonderful. We have Neil. He has upper intermediate English, and he's an amazing teacher as well. He does great lessons on reading strategy and writing. A lot of good vocab as well. If you want to build your vocabulary, take Neil's class. And then English for academic purposes with this nerd over here. And that's well, you know what that class is like. Okay, so those are options. I'll send this link as well, and I'll paste it in our notes here, so you can check it out if you want to sign up for any of the other classes. And I would suggest, even if you're high level or low level, check out the other classes. Like, spend some time in them and see what you can learn. So, French Leo's eating chocolate ice cream. I'm jealous. I wish I were eating chocolate ice cream. Judy says Neil is just great. I agree. He's a great teacher. A lot of knowledge. Very smart. Okay, so let's go into some of the things that we've learned before. We went over note-taking strategy and note-taking abbreviations, and I wanted to use this as an example. So this is our 3-3D listening skills note-taking abbreviation lesson. We did this a long time ago, so you may not remember it. You think I'm awesome. Thank you. I think you're awesome. We did this lesson a long time ago, and it is a heavy lesson. There is a lot of information here. We went over a lot of abbreviations and symbols. This symbol, for example, let me zoom in for everybody on their smartphones so you can see what I'm talking about. This symbol, when you pronounce this symbol, you say percent. Percent, that is the word. Or percentage. 1% of the population, you might see written something like this. If you see this sentence right here, how you pronounce it is you say 1% of the population or 1% of the population should be here. I don't know. Doesn't matter. 1% of the population should be here, or 1% of the population is tall. These type of sentences use symbols to represent words. So this ties into what we're going to learn today, using symbols or shortcuts to represent more information. In language, we use letters to represent sounds, and we use words to represent meaning, and sentences to represent ideas, right? Conveyed knowledge. So everything is a representation of something else. We're always doing it. It's a skill that we're always doing. But sometimes you can do it purposefully to really build your knowledge base efficiently. That is the goal. Basically, everyone can learn. Let me just type the topic for today's lesson. Today's topic is mnemonics. Everyone, oops, I don't want bold there, is always learning. A goal to set, or the goal, I'm going to say the goal because I want to be specific for today. The goal is to learn accurately and efficiently. Okay? The goal is to learn accurately and efficiently. So efficiently is the lesson for today. How can we learn things efficiently? Or how can we recall things we want to recall information efficiently. Now, these days, right, all of the information that we have, not all the information, but a lot of the information that we have, that we've collected as a human species, is available online. The problem is, much of the misinformation that we have is also online. French Leo refers to this all the time, right? He makes up facts or jokes around, and he's a funny guy. But what we're really talking about is there's a lot of fake information, there's a lot of misinformation. This is why in some of our reading classes and writing classes, we've talked about credible sources and making sure the information that we get is accurate. But we're going to forget about all that today and just talk about, if we have the accurate information, how can we remember it without having to search for something on the internet, without having to Google something. Every time I don't know a fact, I'm going to be honest, I Google it. I look it up online, and I don't always find the answer. Sometimes I have to dig deeper. I have to actually pull out an old book. Sometimes I have to call someone, call a colleague, another professor, a professional in a field of science or otherwise. So the internet doesn't always have the answer, but when it does, we want to remember that information so we don't have to spend that time doing that again. Our brain is the fastest search engine out there if we can save the information accurately and efficiently. So we're going to remember those vocabulary words. Let's see. Okay. Yes, Uncle Google is awesome. I like that you made Google an uncle. And we should double check information. French Leo's right. So the lesson for today, mnemonics. What is a mnemonic? Oh, that was a blog I was just going to show you guys. So a mnemonic, the definition, which I Googled, just to have up here for you. A device, a memory device, such as a pattern of letters, ideas, or associations that assists in remembering something. So another way to phrase this sentence is a way of remembering information. A way that helps you remember information. Aiding or designed to aid the memory. So that's how we're going to define this. So what is a mnemonic? Let's define the word. We could just say a memory helper. Or let's come up with a couple different definitions here. A tool to help you remember information. Okay? A tool to help you remember information. That's basically what it is. So I did a little bit of searching, and I found a lot of information, of course, and some is okay, some is kind of bad, some is tangentially associated with the topic for today. Here's somebody's blog. This is not me, different Josh, some other person named Josh. I thought I was the only one. Where they talk, it's a blog, and they're talking about their opinions on mnemonics, and why did I bring this up again? Oh, it was just another definition. This is this person's definition. What is a mnemonic device? So this was focused on ESL, EFL. Language learning, the concept of mnemonics, this person says, can be viewed as any form of memory technique or strategy to increase retention. That's why. I liked some of the academic words that were used here. Retention. Retention is to retain something, to keep it. And retrieval, to go get that information. Of lexical, which is the word for word collections, vocabulary, items. So these mnemonic devices, you see this word used a lot. Mnemonic device is a collocation in English. So the phrase mnemonic device you will hear a lot. I just posted it in the chat. Deliberately, intentionally, mnemonic devices require the student to intentionally or deliberately relate the word with previous learned information. So that's the way I like to think of it. I like to attach new information to old information. It's important, I believe, to take and build upon what you already know. Now, hopefully, and this is where it's important, what you already know is accurate and true and solid information. If you build upon bad information, whatever you build is going to be bad. But if you build upon good information, you can strengthen your structure, right? So, Azrang, today's topic is mnemonics and memory as we learn and retaining information. So, fun topic. It's a big topic, and it's sort of ethereal. It's sort of intangible, hard to hold on to. But we're going to discuss it because I think it's important to look at our metacognition, look at learning about learning. How are we learning the information? Is there a better way to do it? This is something we should always be asking ourselves as academic students. Okay. Abbreviations and acronyms are a linguistic construction method or device. Sure, they're related to mnemonics in that way, that they are a linguistic or cognitive knowledge device, I suppose. Yeah. Rosa, good question. We want to remember more information by using less. So yes, I would say it's in the same family. For the purposes of this class, yes, acronyms and abbreviations are good analogs of mnemonics because it's smaller chunks of information that represent bigger bits of information. And you'll notice a strong analogy between, or a strong analog between acronyms and some mnemonic devices, because they, in some ways, they're one and the same. So here are some examples. Oh, that's a good transition. Let me go into, here we go. This was a PDF I found online. Popular mnemonic devices. So this is one that American students are pretty familiar with. Maybe you are too. I know that Sarbajit is familiar with this, I believe, because he did a great presentation not long ago on colored shadows, which it still is awesome. Good job. We want to... Hiding Love is funny too. You've been hanging out with French Leo? Hiding Love says, smartphones are great devices to remember many things. Yeah. But we want to use no other tool except our brain, right, to remember these things. So that's what we're trying to do. Roy G. Biv is a fictitious name, a made-up name. First name, middle initial, last name, kind of like our APA citations, that stands for red, R, orange, O, Y for yellow, G for green, B for blue, I for indigo, and V for violet. And that produces a rainbow. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. So you see these colors, and it is a way to remember the order of the colors because they appear in that order in nature. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. So you just remember Roy G. Biv, this fake person named Roy who has the middle initial G, last name Biv, B-I-V. So that's a way for us to remember. This is PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. This is a mathematical order of operations that we can remember, PEMDAS. It sounds like a word, it's not. Or you could remember the sentence, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So two different ways there. The chords for treble clef notes, or excuse me, the notes, treble clef notes. Every good boy does fine, or face. These are G, B, D, F, or excuse me, E, G, B, D, F. Just like on a guitar, I think, right? E, G, B, D, F, E. So that's another way. One that I learned that I constantly think of when I think of mnemonics is the order of planets in our solar system. So if we're looking at the image of planets here, here's a good one. We have Mercury, so here's the sun, of course, and then we have Mercury, Venus, Earth, with our moon, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, which they've deplanetized, which is so sad. I think Pluto should still be a planet. But this is the order of the planets. Now, when I was in school, I was taught my very educated mother just served us 9 pizzas. Now, that's a little strange for a sentence, right? My very educated mother just served us 9 pizzas. And I think it's to do with the number 9 here. 9 pizzas is a lot of pizzas. But you notice, just like acronyms, there's a representation, right? The first letter of each word represents something else. Kind of like a code. My very educated mother just served us 9 pizzas. We have Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. I'm still going to include Pluto because I like to. It's awesome. And capitalize Venus here. So the first letter of each of these correlates to the first letter in my sentence. Now, why does this help? Actually, you know what? Before we go into that, what I'd like to do is find out, do you have any mnemonics? Do you have any ways of remembering information that you're familiar with? Have you heard of this one before? Probably not if you're not a native English speaker, because this is very much tied into English, right? If I didn't speak English from a childhood age, I probably don't know this mnemonic, but I might know a different one. You probably learned the order of the planets in science class. How did you learn it? Did you just, they told you the planets and you memorized it through repetition? That's something called rote memory. How did you learn it? I'm going to give you a couple minutes to think about it in the chat and give me your answers. We'll post some up here in our notes. The question is how, or let's say, what mnemonics do you know? And how did you learn the order of the planets in our solar system? Okay, how did you learn the order of the planets? So those are our questions. I'm going to leave them up right here as we go to music. And let me know. Let me know, what mnemonics do you know? Teach me something. Teach all of us something, and we'll talk about it in just a minute. Okay, so I am back, and I got off my head there a little bit. My hands, where'd they go? Uh, so questions in the chat are great. We have a lot of good examples. Some are not exactly mnemonics. Some, like BRB, be right back. They're, it's hard to distinguish between the two, I understand. And for the purposes of memory, they're in some ways the same. It's shortened bits of information that represent larger bits of information. So an example would be fanboys. We talked about that. So many of you said fanboys. So we'll look at the difference between an acronym like SCUBA, okay, and a mnemonic like fanboys. So an acronym, first we'll define an acronym, is a single pronounceable word. I cannot spell today. A single pronounceable word where each letter represents another letter or another word. So SCUBA is an example. SCUBA stands for self-contained, I'm going to say another word or word particle, etc. So self-contained underwater breathing apparatus. Okay, that's what SCUBA stands for, in case you didn't know. Fanboys is where each, it's similar in that each letter stands for another word. So we have for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. And I can write that, I guess. For, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. But you notice self-contained underwater breathing apparatus is something that is linear, is what we would say. We would not say underwater apparatus contains self-breathing. That wouldn't make sense. SCUBA is sequential in that way, where the first letter represents the first word of a phrase or a larger thing. Fanboys, we could mix and match if we wanted. It could be but, or, yes, so, nor, and, for. There's no real meaning in this string of words. It's a string of information. Now, sometimes that is true. Example above, my very educated mother just served us 9 pizzas. The order does matter because that is the order as we move away from our son. But it's not necessarily one pronounceable word. For example, fanboys is 2 words, fan and boys. It also has no real attachable meaning to what it represents. They're very disparate. They mean 2 very different things. SCUBA is meant to be a shortened version of the same meaning. So SCUBA, self-contained underwater breathing apparatus, that whole string of words and the shortened acronym SCUBA share the same meaning. It's exactly the same. Fanboys is totally different. Fan and boys, nothing about this has anything to do with coordinating conjunctions, which are these. These are, linguistically, are coordinating conjunctions. So the two are so totally different. The only purpose, the only link between the two is mnemonics. The link between those two things is helping us remember. So does that make sense? The difference between acronyms, where a shortened bit of information is intended to have the same meaning, as longer information, and a mnemonic where the only purpose of it, it's silly or strange or funny or just different, and that is used to help us remember. Those are two different things. So if you're really interested in that, you can dig deeper. You could send me an email. I will try to do a better job of explaining it to you. Again, if you're curious. But those are the differences. So Sarbjeet says yes, hopefully you mean, and Rosa says yes, hopefully that's in response to me. NASA is an acronym, Sarbjeet, yes. National Aeronautics Space Administration, I believe, is the acronym. French Leo knows a bunch. NASA, CIA, DEA, ATF, FBI. In medicine, acronyms are very popular, and sometimes it's difficult because they have to come up with acronyms that are not confusing or able to be confused with other acronyms. So it can get complex. Vency says the Russians are masters of acronyms. I did not know that, but I'm excited. And I want some examples, so please share, send me an email, or find me on Facebook and post about Russian acronym masters. I think that's cool. Makes me wish I were a Russian acronym master. It'd be cool. All right, yeah, TESOL, TOEFL, these are acronyms as well. But we're talking about mnemonics. So back to mnemonics. Why do they work? Why do they work? Here's a website that I found that I think does a pretty good job of outlining the basics of why acronyms work. It goes way back. I also wanted to share this link. I'm going to put this in the notes. There's a great book called Moonwalking. We'll call this resources that we talked about. Oops, sorry about that. Resources. So there's a great book called Moonwalking with Einstein, and I will show you what it looks like. Oops, I misspelled that. And I highly suggest it. It's a great read. It's fun, fun to read it. This is the author, Joshua Foer. It looks like this, the jacket, the dust jacket of the book. But it's all about memory and memory competitions and the idea of remembering long portions of information. We used to be able to do it. I say we as humanity. Plato, Socrates, they would remember 4-hour-long speeches. Not necessarily ad rerum, they would remember it word for word, but verbatim, they would remember it approximately. They wouldn't repeat it word for word every time, but they would repeat the same information, the gist of it, right? So check out that book, and here's a short 4-minute synopsis of what the book is about. The full book itself, of course, is much better, but I've included that for you. So ways to help your memory have been around for a long time, and here are some of those. So rhyme, things that rhyme. This may not be true in your native language, but in English, we use rhyme a lot. Facebook chatters are masters of acronym. That's true too. French Leo says they have the same in French for remembering the conjunction, but we use one long sentence to remember it. Yeah, we use different skills and different techniques. So do you use rhyme in your culture to remember information? My guess is yes. Do you use rhyme in your culture to remember information? We use rhyme. So what strategies do we use to remember. This is the new list of notes I'm going to create. So what kind of strategies do we use? We use rhyme, verbal gimmick. So they say clearly modern civilization would be impossible without these 4 words: spring, forward, fall, back. This is using spring forward, and fall back is using entendre. It's using connotative meaning as opposed to denotative meaning, auxiliary meanings of words. With daylight savings time, we spring ahead and we fall behind. It's a way to remember that in the spring we set our clocks, and this is something that was created by Benjamin Franklin for an agrarian, excuse me, the word is agrarian, agriculture, farmers, agrarian lifestyle. So when farmers would need to adjust the time of day so that it worked with the sun, and trains and businesses and this sort of thing, we came up with daylight savings time. Daylight savings time, in spring, we move the clocks forward an hour, and then in the fall, we move them back. Spring ahead, spring is a good verb, dynamic verb. Fall behind, like I'm falling behind. It's a nice way to remember which way to turn the clocks so that we don't accidentally get off beat in time. So spring forward, fall behind. So we could also call that entendre or auxiliary meanings of words. That's one other trick that we use. These are tools, these are devices, these are tricks. Let me clear out some of these tabs that we've already used. Where are we? Oh, here we go. So poem. Poem is similar to the rhyme, so I'm going to combine those two things in our notes. Because you're using meter, rhyme and meter. Like a poem, you're creating a poem to remember something, can be very helpful. Easy association. So sometimes similar words like desert and dessert are hard to remember, but you can remember the word itself has an extra S. So which one has the S? Dessert, it's a little something extra. You can think of desert having one less S, so you're missing something, you're thirsty, you're in the desert. You associate these things, you picture images, you create mental images in your mind to remember. So associations, we make associations. Sometimes we do this when we meet someone, because you remember French Leo is wearing a hat. In my chat, at least, French Leo always comes up with a little purple silhouette figurine. So when I see that, I just recognize it as French Leo's chat, right? So there's this color association. And it's easy to quickly just look without reading a name and see who is chatting. So associations help. And then I'm just going to say crazy or silly associations. And you'll learn this if you check out Moonwalking with Einstein. But the book goes into detail about how crazy associations, contrived associations that are funny, odd, or sort of taboo, help you remember things. So you can picture something in your mind that's wacky or crazy or something unusual. An unusual association helps you remember something too. So yeah, the book goes into great detail, but it's a technique that has been used for a very long time. Acronyms are another way to remember information. Acrostics, crosswords, things like bridging information across meanings, where you can have one sentence that is disparate seemingly in meaning but connects to something else. I would have phrased that differently, but you can chunk numbers, you can put numbers together, make individual associations. Maybe there's an important date in history that's hidden in here. Maybe this is your friend's phone number. This is, of course, pi. It's a good number to remember. If your friend's phone number is pi, keep that forever. It's super cool. So there's a lot of different ways to remember information. Those are some of the popular ones. Rhyme or meter, like writing a poem. Entendre or auxiliary meanings of the words. And then associations. This one is the one that I find myself using the most. I just associate this with this, and I can remember the information. Amanda says, my 3-year-old daughter can't read yet, but it seems that she's reading The Cat in the Hat because of the rhyme. She already knows the book word by word. Yeah, that's memorization. So your 3-year-old can impress people at your, dinner parties because it looks like she's reading, right? She's doing more than that, though. She's not just remembering the rhyme. What your daughter's doing is also associating the picture with the meaning of the page. So a couple things are happening. Your daughter is remembering the rhyme, so she is remembering the word syntax. So the order of words in the sentence, she's probably remembering by rhyme, but she's calling that sentence to the forefront of her mind by the image that's represented on that page. If you just asked her to remember the book, she might be able to, just from memory, the whole rhyme, remembering it as one thing together. But she will do much better and be able to get to that information much more quickly if she sees the image on the page, if she sees the cartoon cat and what the cat is doing in that situation, right? Is it in the house? Is it outside? What's going on? She'll be able to remember that information. Now, what's interesting is even if she is not looking at the book and she remembers it perfectly, she is probably, and there's no way to tell for sure unless you can ask her, she's probably imagining what those pages look like when she is recalling the book. So that's a perfect example for exactly what we're talking about right now. And you can look this up further. There's more information available. This bridges a lot of different fields of research: linguistics, neuroscience, psychology. There's a lot here working together. But great example. Thank you. Okay. Francie Lee has another one for similar to Roy G. Biv. Bad beer rots our young guts but vodka goes well in silver goblets. This is to remember: black, blue, red, orange, yellow, green, brown, violet, gray, white, silver, gold. So a little bit more in depth there, but yeah, that is a mnemonic. To remember that order of colors, that phrase will help. Intonation, desert and dessert. The intonation, the first word there to help you, Alejandra, is desert, desert. And the second word is dessert, dessert. So hopefully that helps. We can practice more if you want later. So this helps our brains recall this information. That's what's important. It's kind of like muscles, French Leo says. If you do more training, you lose muscle. Am I right, doctor? I'm not sure what you're saying, French Leo. Maybe try again. Okay. So these silly associations really help. I have a couple more examples of mnemonics. So I've copied that Moonwalking with Einstein. This one is one that pertains to English, so I just wanted to read it for you. I before E, except after C. Now this is not always true, of course. There are exceptions to this mnemonic, this rule. But I before C, except after I before E, except after C, or when sounding like A in neighbor and way. Red sky at night, shepherd's delight. Red sky in the morning, shepherd's warning. So it just goes into a rhyme. This is using rhyme and meter. But most American students learn this at some point. I before E, except after C, or when sounding like A in neighbor and way. So that's a way to remember mnemonics through rhyme or meter. So I'll put that here so that you can, oops, you can have it later. Because that's one that we've remembered. So here is the Wikipedia page for a list of mnemonics. There is a bunch in here. There's a lot in education. They don't have, well, they have language section. Oh, adjective order here, of course. Opinion, size, age, shape, color, origin, material, purpose. I think Amanda had mentioned that earlier. And coordinating conjunctions like fanboy, which we talked about. The distinction between Spanish verbs, if it's how you are or where you are, always use estar. Vowels in Latin subjunctives. So there's a lot of linguistic memorization because grammar has a lot of rules, and it's difficult to remember if we don't create mnemonics for ourselves. So there's a bunch here. There's a lot for math. You see trig, calculus, pi, nerves, the skeletal system, the bones in your hands and body. That is very common for med students to come up with mnemonics. So come up with a crazy mnemonic. Musical notes, colors of the spectrum, coordinating conjunctions, taxonomy. This is another one. The order of taxonomy in biology, this is something good to remember, is kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. It is hierarchical, so you do want to remember it in that order. Kevin's poor cow only feels good sometimes. It's just silly. Kevin is a man's name in English. Kevin's poor cow only feels good sometimes. Or this one's one that I've heard before. King Philip cried out for good soup. There's some other ones that are kind of a little more risque about King Philip. But, you know, find out something that works for you. Again, that's how I learned the planets of our solar system was a mnemonic when I was a student in school. You can create your own mnemonics. That's something that I wanted to be a takeaway for this lesson is create your own mnemonics. Create your own ways of remembering information. Find ways to build up new neurological pathways to recall this information. So your homework is to learn something and memorize it. Try to learn a long piece of information and just go through the process. Now, you don't have to learn through mnemonics. That's not what I'm asking of you. You can learn through a lot of different skills. French Leo, I think, said earlier, he learns through rote memory. So what is rote learning or rote memorization? This word here, R-O-T-E, rote. This is through strict memorization or strict or memory through repetition. Okay, just straight repetition. Just repeating something over and over and over and over and over until you remember it. That's what rote learning is. To a degree, we all utilize rote learning. It's just something that we do. We learn by repeating things over and over. When people talk about muscle memory, when someone talks about playing guitar or typing on the keyboard, that's muscle memory. And what it is building up the neurological pathways to move your muscles, to have your brain communicate and tell your body to move your muscles in a specific way. And you build that up by doing it over and over and over. So we learn through doing in that way. We learn through doing repeated actions. And that's an okay way to learn too. But we want to, as you remember, learn effectively and efficiently. That's our goal. We want to learn accurately, effectively, and efficiently. So, French Leo says, I mean, you lose muscle mass when you stop walking, running, or training, particularly in older years. Yeah, that's true. It's called atrophy. When you stop using your muscles, you lose that muscle mass, atrophy. They stop working as well. So association is, it seems like, kind of. You're associating two things. You're saying, this has a connection with this. That's what association is. This connecting with this. Maybe within 10 years, we're going to have a microprocessor under our skin. Maybe if Elon Musk can help perpetuate his neural lace, pretty interesting stuff. Yeah, we might all be half AI in 10 years. Who knows? Vinci, yes, I'm talking about automatic movements, kind of. Building up movement to the point where it feels like automation. Second nature is what we'd call it. Typing after so many years feels like second nature. Okay, can you learn something with a song? Yes, Jose, absolutely. Songs are great ways to learn. The book that I mentioned earlier talks about song. I would chunk it in with poetry and meter back here in the strategy we use to remember. Rhyme, meter, song, absolutely. Song or poem. Like sleepwalking. Kind of, Sarbajit. Sleepwalking is... Well, sleepwalking is an automatic movement, I suppose, but it's out of our control. Mnemonics are within our control. It's something that we can use to help us remember. French Leo, you might be able to remember with hypnosis. That depends on the person, for sure. Not everybody. We're all going to have different learning styles, so that is the point I want to make as I leave you today. Your homework is very general today. For premium subscribers, or if you're a new student, I'd like you to do this homework too and send it to me so I can give you a little bit of feedback. I want you to become a premium subscriber. I want you to sign up for classes so that we can do all the cool personalized feedback and all that. But homework for today, for this week, is to learn something. I want you to learn something, and I want you to learn... I want you to journal about the process. Okay? What worked? What didn't work? What techniques did you use? I want you to journal about this process, and then what did you learn? Okay? If you can, come up with a mnemonic. Come up with a mnemonic or device or other device for learning something. For learning your material, your information. Okay? So that's your homework. I want you to journal about this. It's kind of a writing homework. But it's also process homework. It's experiential learning. It's doing. So whatever you're doing in your life, if you're maybe, you're a mom like Amanda and you want to teach your 3-year-old daughter something, learn with her. Learn something new with her. There are things that a 3-year-old can learn that you may not know yet. Find something new. Learn a new book with her. Journal about her learning process and your learning process. How long does it take? What did you do? How many times a day did you read? Go through the scientific process and go through the metacognitive process and learn about learning. If we reflect like this, if we reflect on our own learning style, we can become better learners, more efficient learners, and we can retain more accurate information. So if you have the time, check out that book, give it a read. We can chat about it. I've read it too. If you don't have time, please do this. Even if you just spend an hour on it trying to learn a new skill, do so. Learn that today and then revisit it in a few days or a week and see if you remember it. See if you can do it as well, and then write about that. So journal about this process. Send that to me before the end of the week. Once again, my name is Joshua. I'm your Smrt Live English for Academic Purpose teacher. This has been a fun class. It's a little off topic than our usual classes. We'll be back on topic with some more English 140 lessons from our units here in our English 140 class. But I think this is important. I think it's important to learn about learning and develop and grow and become better students, better learners. So I hope that helps. You guys are great. Always a pleasure. Amazing students I have here. Truly, you guys are really awesome. Please invite a friend next time. Send out a Facebook invite. Remind people about this class. I want to see more students here. I want to see even more in the chat. I want it to become so popular that I need to call Neil and say, hey, Neil, I need you in my class to be a moderator so that we can hang out together. Then you get 2 teachers. So invite your friends. Tell them to come. I love being here. I love doing this. Let me know what questions you have. Send me an email. That's my email right there. I'll put my Facebook up too. Don't bother sending a chat on Facebook. I hardly ever check it. But I will reply if you post a comment or something like that. But here's my Facebook as well. You can reach me here. We can be friends. All good. Anyhow, EGBDF. Shakuri says, musical notes on the lines go EGBDF. Thank you. Every good boy deserves fun, or every good boy does fine. Good job. So, fun class on mnemonics. Thank you, everybody. You're wonderful, and I will see you next week. 15:30 GMT Thursdays. That's when I'm here. Check it out. Tell your friends. Come hang out with us. It's a fun class. I will see everybody next week. Here's a short video from Sean.
Hi everyone, thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to our channel. Also, if you want the full experience of being a student in a Smrt Live class with things like homework and teacher feedback, follow the link and become a premium subscriber. Also, if you want to see more videos from this class, check out our playlist.